and with full time, also doing a lot of mortgage during the 90s and early 2000s. So I advise client not only to buy and sell, but also on strategic positioning themselves on how to prepare to retire by, leveraging on their asset. So today's market, everybody is so frantic about inflation, about interest rate, but actually you have to focus on the good things. Like there's not a lot of multiple offers right now. There's a fat equity in your home, and this is the perfect time for you to downsize or upsize or move to the right suitable property for the last third of your life if you are a baby boomer. Do you know that baby boomers are actually retiring, 10,000 of them in the United States every day? And a lot of them are not really prepared. There's a lot of them who lost a lot their equities or their assets during the downturn in 2008. So today, we will be talking about another feature where one way of leveraging on your asset is looking at investing or reinvesting some of your assets on senior housing, which is getting to be a high demand. There's a lot of demand for senior housing. And today, I'm going to be introducing you to a lady who has been a friend of mine for over 10 years, and we have been interchanging and sharing information on how to use real estate or to increase your asset. So we talk about different kinds of situations. When we have clients, we talk to each other and share information, because my friend here have been working in the senior care space for over a couple of decades. So if you are watching us, please let us know where you are watching us from, and like us in Facebook. This is a recorded show, so you can actually see it again, watch it again in YouTube at the Emporium channel. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Miss Anne Ramirez, and she would be talking about different things, different features of senior housing, whether it is in California or here where I'm at right now in the Philippines, which is another growing market, higher demand, or the demand is increasing here in the Philippines because of cost of living. So this is another alternative. So, and you can have the floor. Thank you. You're muted. We cannot hear you.
It's muted. How can I unmute
Yeah,
myself?
yeah, yeah. You're good.
Where? All right, it's unmuted
Yeah,
now. So
yeah.
yeah. So good evening, everyone in the U.S. and good morning here in the Philippines. Fortunate enough that I'm also here and trying to explore some of the properties that's available to the seniors and also investors in the U.S. So first things first. The question is your home supporting you, or are you supporting your home? Those are the questions you need to ask yourself before you can move in the right direction and have a successful senior transition. Has your family dynamics changed? Are your family members involved? These are the things that you would like to make sure that are answered. And so then, going to the different senior housing available just to seniors, there is what we call independent living, which is an active lifestyle living. And this can be, below 60, 59, or even those that are at 62 that needed to make sure that they have this socialization, friends with them, they don't get bored and stuff like that. Another one is boarding care, aka care home, which is a smaller facility. We don't call it facility, but it's really a smaller home for seniors as well. And another one is the assisted living home, which is bigger, a bigger home than a boarding care. Boarding care, you can have also additional services available to you if you need a medicine reminder or just companionship to do the groceries for you, laundry, and all that stuff. And that is also true when you live in an assisted living home, but it's bigger. So it depends on what kind of lifestyle you want it to be in. And another trend right now is the co-housing or shared apartment, shared condo. That, of course, many seniors are kind of like insecure. They would like to make sure that there's somebody whom they can call to, instead of living alone. And this is very critical when you are trying to move into another home. Now, what are the steps in making sure that you will have a successful senior transition? Of course, first off is to determine the type of housing um, that will best meet your needs, and senior needs. For realtors, of course, this is one of the questions you would like to ask your clients. And again, the second one is start looking for a property location, which is very critical again, preferably in an A class area, upper class area. Why? Because assisted living is sometimes, more often than not, it's costly. So if you have not prepared yourself for, to pay for the monthly rent or whatever, then that will be one of the considerations you have to take. For those who would like to invest, is a lucrative business, passive cash flow. We're talking about passive cash flow. The best homes to buy actually are larger than average, one level style, ranch style, 3 to 400 square feet per room, per resident, and more bathrooms is ideal because, as you know, they get incontinent and stuff like that. They need more help, and as they live, as they age in place. And the most important thing is how to attract private pay residents, not Medicare, not medical, but private pay, because that's when you really can have positive outflow, cash flow. So, how do you create cash flow with assisted living home? So you can convert you can convert the single family home into an AL home. Can be You can start at perhaps 20. It's large enough, larger than boarding care. Boarding care is usually from 6 to 12 residents. It depends on how big the uh, the home is. Um, Larger than 12, it's already like, considered an assisted living home. And approximately, I would like to say that the gross revenue for an assisted living home is between 5,000 to 15,000 per month. It depends on, again, on how large the home is and how many residents you have. If you're full occupied, then that's good. And so, with that said, again, going to the other one, which is really a trend right now, is co-housing, or shared apartment, shared condo, or shared home. The senior sometimes will, their strategy is to buy a condo, an apartment, and share it with someone, rent it out with someone, so they have companion. The same will hold true. They will work if you have if you convert your single family home as a boarding care into a boarding care. you can live there, rent out the rest of the areas in the room, in the home, and that way you are able to have some cash flow. That's when you really would like to retire in style, having some money coming in instead of just going out. And that way, your home doesn't become a liability, but rather an asset. It becomes a liability when it's supporting you, and it becomes an asset. It, I'm sorry, it becomes a liability when it's not supporting you, and it becomes an asset if it is supporting you. Okay, so make sure that you have that plan in place. And if you need some help doing the plan, of course, SP and I are here to help you out. Now, when it comes to ROI, you will ask me, so what's the ROI? What's the return on investment? The average ROI, if it is 6% ROI, it's kind of like good, if you will. But if you have 7% and above ROI, then it is better. Okay. So again, as an investor in assisted living facility, I have worked as an executive director managing 291 senior apartments, both independent and assisted living. And there are really a lot of things that you can do and have this kind of cash flow. So normally I would like to say that the net ROI should be around 30% of your gross revenue. So again, we're here to help you with the projections if you're planning to buy or invest in assisted living home or boarding care. There's a lot of properties out there in California, in US, or also in the Philippines. In fact, they are now into that kind of business model because of the
Demand.
baby boomers aging too fast. As uh, SB had said earlier on, there are about 10,000, between 8,000 to 10,000 seniors, retiring or like aging in place. So again, for those of you who don't want to move out of your facility, of your home, I should say, then you can again convert your home, make it, get some income out there, and it becomes your asset. For those who are buying, of course, we have to make sure that you are in the right location, closer to your family, closer to what you want to be, and preferably in an A class or upper class areas. And so I think that's all for me for now. If there are questions, I'm more than willing to entertain them. Um, are we?
Yeah, hi, Anne. Well, thank you for those little bits, pieces of information. I think that is really great as a start.
Mhm.
Of course, we are here to tickle your mind and to give you some kind of ideas on how you can take advantage of the present market right now. So, as we said, baby boomers are aging, they're turning 65 every day, and more of them need to
I'm one of
find.
them.
Me too, right? So that's the reason why we are very sympathetic to this group
Oh
of
yeah.
our
Oh yeah.
generation, and we're still active. I remember when my grandma was like 62 years old, and they were so, oh wow, she's old, but right
Uh-huh.
now the 60s are the new like 45s, right?
Uh-huh.
So we like to travel, we like to explore, so there's more and more demand now for multiple homes. We stay we
Right.
keep our home
Right.
in California, and then we invest in different parts of the world. And we as Filipinos, we of course are more versed here in the Philippines, and of course, we are now getting a lot of attention because Filipinos are known to be great caregivers, you know, and the affordability of
Mhm.
housing here in the Philippines is really very competitive right now in Asia. So let me ask you, with this ADU that come up, with the Prop 19 that came up last about a couple of years ago, um, this is the best way to leverage our single family home by with the ADU. You can actually add another unit, in your single family home lot, depending on
Yeah,
the
because of the
location.
recent bill that
Yes.
has been approved. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, so that's more and more happening right now. And with you having a lot of equity, you can borrow from your equity and actually use that to create another asset. For you. Oh, I'm having a
Mhm.
call here from somebody.
That
Anyway,
is
I
why,
guess somebody
yes,
wants that's a question, and they were trying to call me in
and
in
this is the thing,
Facebook.
SP. This is the thing,
Yeah.
SP, with seniors like us, and many of them, I think, are experiencing this, having worked with as the senior population for over 2 decades now. And so, being a certified senior advisor, I've encountered a lot of these questions and fears. It's just creating a mindset and
Yeah.
over and conquering their fears,
Right.
and that way it's like, oh, I'm already old, I don't want to invest, or I don't want to have this kind of
Yeah.
problem. You really don't have to have that kind of problem,
Mhm,
actually.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so in real estate, there's no such thing as aging to me.
Yep, that's true.
And so
Yeah.
you can actually invest in any type of property you want to live in. And in
Mhm.
fact, there are developers and builders in the Philippines who are more into mid mid
Mhm.
rise buildings
Yeah, more
instead of
suitable
high
for
rise.
for
Correct.
the baby boomers. Yes.
Correct. And
Yes.
it's more like
Yeah.
more open spaces. They can go
Mhm.
around. They have a trail.
Yes.
In other words, just like what you said, retiring style. And
Yeah.
that it's a resort style type of living.
And
And
now
right,
Philippines is getting to be also a destination for what do you call that? Medical tourism.
medical tourism.
Yes.
Exactly. And I'm
Yes.
telling you, it's cheap here.
Yeah. So a lot of
Beautify
our
yourself when you're
kababayans.
in your golden age
Oh yes,
while
exactly.
you're
And
making money out of your investment.
right, right. So
Right.
your dollar can go a long way here. Usually, Social Security, they
Oh,
said that
no.
the average Social Security in United States is about, let's say, $2,000 a month for
Right.
SSS, right? Your Social Security check. So 2,000 in United States doesn't really go that far. You are really depending on other sources, or maybe stay with your family, or you must have other ways of finding how you can increase that, by working in Walmart, or living with your relative, things like
And
that.
again,
But
and again,
in the Philippines, $2,000 can go a long way. Yeah.
right, right. And also,
So
piggybacking on that, SP, is that if they have a home in let's say in the US, and they have so much equity, other people resort to reverse mortgage or what have you, and they
yeah.
have this installment structure plan that, in
Mm.
order to avoid paying capital gains outright, right? And so
Yes.
then again, it's just a matter of reinvesting your asset there, your
Yeah.
property there.
Yeah.
So you
Mhm.
have to really make an assessment. Are you
Mhm.
getting so much burden? If you have so much equity, then why not use it and
Mhm.
reinvest it elsewhere? And
Yeah.
that's what I do. And to me, that's my experience. I reinvest whatever I have. It can be a dividend, annuity, or whatever,
Yes.
a real estate investment trust, whatever you may call it. They are out there. And
Yeah.
again, also there's what we call here that you can co-own a hotel in the Philippines,
Mhm.
and that again is another passive income for seniors, and
You
they
own
can
a
pass.
slice of it. right? You are
Right. You
hard
have
to
you own a
so
slice
you
of
don't
it.
have to really worry about maintaining
No,
it, managing it, and all that.
no. There is
So
a
you are
property
just a quiet
manager. Mhm.
investor,
Correct.
silent
You will
investor.
be a silent investor there, and there will be a property management company. Colliers is very popular here in the Philippines, and they'll take care of it. You will just have to see the dividends they're coming into your bank account or whatever. I'm
Yeah,
not saying though that because I am not involved anyway, I'm not trying to endorse them. I'm not in any way affiliated with any one of them, but that's how I see the trend now, and
mhm.
to make sure that your money will last, will outlast, you will outlive, I should say,
Yeah, your money and asset. Yeah.
your
So,
assets.
oh, we
Mhm.
have a guest here. He says, "Maayong nga adlaw." Maayong nga adlaw is Ilocano. It says, magandang araw, something like that. Have a nice day or something. You know, it's a greeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for making a comment. I wish I know your name. This is one of the Facebook users. But if you're out there and listening to us, we would appreciate if you have questions. Feel free to send your questions. Also, let us know where you are calling from. You can always call us or message us through Facebook, or through our other ways of contacting us. We have our website here and has also her contact information.
Mhm.
All of these that we're talking about is just to really churn your mind. And of course, we are not doing this just by ourselves. We have a team of professionals that we work with. And in fact, one of the team professionals that I work with is Anne. So I do have a team of professionals also here in the Philippines, and the same time in California, in Los Angeles. I have a financial planner I work with. I have a lender, a very good lender that I work with. So don't be confused with what we say. The best thing is for you to reach out to us, and we will work as a team, and we will connect you to the right, um, how do you call this? Right, uh, people, the right professionals, to a right investor. We have some CPAs that we know, all of that. We would like to connect you, and even my next speaker, which is our very own commissioner here in Los Angeles, Eric Elnar from our Philippine Trade and Investment Commissioner here in the Consulate of Los Angeles. Okay, so I'll be calling him in a few minutes after me and Anne are finished with our talk. So, Eric, no, Ferdy, can you please introduce Eric to our team here? Thank you.
I was going to say
Yes. Yeah.
before we do that, why don't we go to a quick break so we can prepare Eric's slides in the next segment. So I'm going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll hear a little bit of a message from one of the biggest real estate
Oh yes,
developers
our
in
partners.
the Philippines. Let me go
Yeah.
ahead and show their information or their message to our viewers.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Very nice.
Well, we're back. We're back. We're watching live. You are watching live at the Emporium with, here at the Emporium, but a special segment of Live at the Emporium where we talk about Philippine real estate investments as well as U.S. investments, and it's being discussed by two wonderful, very knowledgeable ladies who are currently on the screen as you see. One is SB Agbayani, which is the host of Retire in Style with SB, and her guest is Anne from a core dimension. Her name is Anne Orozco Ramirez. But before we go to the next segment, or before we bring back the ladies again, I want to go ahead and introduce the next segment of Live at the Emporium Special Edition. I've gotten to know him, very knowledgeable individual, right? And he has a lot of information that he wants to share with all of you in terms of opportunities in the Philippines, in terms of investments, different types, not just real estate, franchises, other things. And I will attempt to, to work his slide to make sure I don't screw it up. But with all that being said, there's a lot of words I can describe this individual as being very knowledgeable, very helpful, very dedicated to what he does and wanting to help a lot of people and discover the Philippines. So without further ado, and me embarrassing him and saying more of that, let me just go ahead and introduce the one and only Trade Commissioner of the Philippine Trade and Investment Center in Los Angeles, the one and only Mr. Eric Elnar. Hey, Eric, you're ready to go. I'm going to get out of the system. You just tell me when you work the slides.
Sure. Good
Can you hear
evening
me,
and
Eric?
good evening to all who are listening in from the U.S. and good morning to the Philippines. I believe Ferdinand will pull up my slides, and I will talk a bit about
Okay.
investment opportunities in the Philippines. There. So I gave this presentation to a group in Honolulu, Hawaii last week, and they were very receptive on what prospects and trade opportunities we could share with them for especially for our Filipino American kababayans who want to go back to the Philippines and maybe retire there and at the same time still want to do some business or have a source of livelihood while they're enjoying their retirement years. So if you could go to the next slide, please, Bong. So, of course, one very, I would say, obvious choice for our kababayans is franchising. So, because when you go into franchising, you're not in a business on your own. You have the franchise owner to support you. You have a whole franchise system that is already built and tested, field tested, and chances of failure in franchising is lower compared to when you go on a business on your own. So of course we are familiar with some of these brands or most of these brands like Jollibee, Max's Restaurant. So all of these brands are well established in the Philippines, and at the same time are looking for opportunities abroad. So aside from maybe getting a franchise for you or for your family members in the Philippines, you could also bring these franchises or get a franchise of this restaurant and other concepts and then bring them to the US. So next, aside from franchising, we online business, especially during the pandemic, it grew exponentially. You see here at least I think three concepts: Easy Fulfill, ePasabay, and One Export. So these companies were started before the pandemic, but grew tremendously during the pandemic because we were all locked down. We were all stuck in our homes, and still life goes on, and we need to do our groceries. We need to provide for our families. So online became one of the best ways to get goods and services to your home. So with this, the growth of online businesses are also I would say grew a lot during the pandemic in the Philippines, and Filipinos learned how to deal with the pandemic by going online. Next. Of course, real estate. I read somewhere that God stopped making land a long time ago, and real estate is always a good play. We have a number of outlets or options for you aside from residential real estate. There's commercial where you could have or you could host businesses. There's industrial where we have a growing economy and um, would need places for factories, for plants, for manufacturing facilities. And of course, there's land banking. You could always buy, um, raw or unutilized land. And then if you see the potentials of this to be developed later on, land banking is a good way to get maximum profits for your money. Next, I think we have, of course, stocks and bonds. The Philippine stock market, the Philippine Stock Exchange has been growing and is always I would say, especially during the pandemic, it became a safe haven because a lot of the economies, the more developed countries, stagnated during the pandemic, but ours kept on growing. There was a period where there were lockdowns, but after that period, there were definitely a lot of economic growth to catch up. So stocks, especially blue chip stocks, are always a safe bet in the Philippines. And then bonds, the government issues a lot of bonds now, and the returns are quite good compared to what you could get from banks and from just putting your money in time deposit. Next, we have agriculture. You may be hearing about all of this stories about crazy prices of agriculture products, particularly onions in the Philippines. And here in the US, there's, I think, a shortage of eggs. So, agriculture is always a safe bet or good bet. Everyone needs to eat. In the Philippines, we need to feed 110 million population. So, food production and agriculture is always a good investment outlet for everyone. And now, just as an aside, I've been assigned in a number of metropolitan or cosmopolitan cities in the world. And whenever I talk to our kababayans, our overseas Filipinos, they would always say that they want to go back when they retire or when they stop working or end their contract. They will always want to say that they want to go back to their provinces. They want to be a farmer. They want to live a simple life. So I think agriculture really brings us back to our roots, brings us back to our maybe childhood for some, and it's a good safe bet as an investment outlet. I think those are the investment opportunities. Next slide would be okay. This is in Filipino, but I saw this in a news or a news show in the Philippines. So it says basically what businesses worked or went well during 2022 last year. So number one is pagkain or food. As I mentioned earlier, everyone needs to eat. 110 million population. Do the math. Second is aesthetic. Anything that has relates to beauty, to health and wellness. Since a lot of us were stuck home and during the pandemic, we needed to do some self-care, take care of ourselves. So aesthetic, anything beauty related grew well in the pandemic, both for products and services. Home body products, I think this has something to do with anything that we would use when we work from home, when we homeschool our kids. So anything that is home friendly or home. So, for example, during the pandemic, there's a lot of growth in terms of like anything that would go into your home office. So like standing tables, um, small office setup in your home. All of these products grew well in the pandemic. And then halaman or plants. A lot of us became plantitos or plantitas. For indoor, we started taking care of indoor plants, also for self care. And then pet grooming. So aside from taking care of plants, a lot of us took to getting pets and taking care of pets. And pet grooming is part of that. And lastly, online services. I think I mentioned that also earlier. So these are all the businesses that went grew during the pandemic in 2022. And next slide, or the very last slide, I think we have the businesses that would work well, they think, here in this year, in 2023. So again, pagkain, food, anything food related. Technology is the second one. So, also to support our being homebodies, and also, being working from home now, and some are even still getting homeschooling. So technology, all the devices that you would need, the digital devices like tablets, computers, cell phones, anything that is technology related, would be a good business, both for products and services. Yes, 2023. And then again, online related, anything that is online, both for products and services. And lastly, kagandahan, kaputian, kapayatan, kalusugan. So I think this basically is the same one as previously, or aesthetic, anything beauty related. We have to take care of ourselves, and self care part of it would be taking care of our appearances, or our beauty. So I think with that, I think that's the last slide. If we could go to the next one. So with that, I will be, on hand to answer questions. If you have some, you could chat or send it to any of us here. So there, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing, Commissioner Eric Alnar, and I really appreciate you supporting us at our show and giving us an enlightenment to our audience and to our friends on how we can leverage on our asset here in United States. Well, I'm here in Manila right now, but I'm based in California, in Los Angeles. But how we can use that asset that we have, especially right now when you're reaching retirement age. I am right reaching to the baby boomers, or the ones that are getting to be getting to the retirement age. If you're in your 50s, this is the perfect time to really think about what you're going to do with your asset. A lot of us have big homes. They're not suitable anymore for us. And you say, how can I leverage? I cannot qualify. I'm not working anymore, or I can't. Well, the best thing is for you to liquidate. You sell your property and you reset, and that's what we can show you. We can give you all the different advice. We have CPAs that can give you advice that we know, and we can introduce you to them. And Anne is a very good advisor. She works with SBDC. She's one of the counselors of SBDC in San Jose. And you can reach out to her. She can teach you how to do business plan on senior housing, on different levels of the senior housing. She can do that for you. We can also help you find funding, with SBA, different kinds of organizations that give grants. And of course, um, our Commissioner Eric can guide us on where to go. What area is the best place for you to go and invest in the Philippines if you choose to. So he has given us different kinds of sources, different choices, but it's always good to gather your information, do your research before you do any kind of emotional decision, right? So we don't want to do emotional decision. We want to gather information, ask. There's a lot of free information there, and we do offer that. Anne is here, our commissioner here in LA. He's very, very receptive to that. And of course, there's a symbiotic relationship. There's an advantage because Mr. Eric Elnar, his duty is to be able to boost the trade and industry of the Philippines right now, right, Mr. Eric?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So don't feel uncomfortable that, oh, I'm going to reach out to him. He's not going to give me attention. He would, because that is his job. Okay. And Anne and me, of course, we are independent contractors on ourselves. We are our own business. The good thing about it is that we own our own time, and we can give you that time and guidance. And of course, hopefully, you're going to use us for the time when it's time for you to buy or sell or to invest, whether here in the Philippines, which where I'm now, or in Los Angeles or in California. What do you think, Anne? Are you excited? I cannot hear you.
Hold on. Okay, there. Okay, so yeah, and yeah, well said, very well said, SP. And we are here to help. Being having been a certified senior advisor and also a senior business advisor for Small Business Development Center. Um, I have also access to lenders for SBA. Those who would like to buy a commercial space or a building or what have you, they can apply for SBA 504, and I'm more than willing to put together a package for them, make sure that they have the right uh, financial
Business
projections.
plan.
Uh, those financial projections is all about the number,
Right.
and,
Yeah.
and I tell them that you may have a very good business plan, but the financial projections is not going anywhere. Both of them should be they should match, and lenders are looking at your financials, whether it's gonna be profitable. And lastly, let me tell you that if the seniors are going to invest in properties here or sell their homes in the US, that will work as well. Reason being that they can always enjoy the fruit of their labor while they're still alive or they're still living, and also preparing their children to enjoy life as well in the future. That's how it's a generational wealth, as you said. And
Yes.
that's one way of leveraging your assets. I said assets, not liability. Don't make your real estate a liability, but rather
Mhm.
an asset.
Yes. Very good. Any wrap up, Mr. Eric? There are advantages on even for foreigners that I remember you were mentioning. If a foreigner or a PhilAm wants to invest here in the Philippines, there are some new incentives that the government is offering right now, isn't it? Can you highlight that for us?
Yes. Well, quickly, the general direction of the government's policy now is to open up investments to more and more business activities. So before, maybe you've heard of the 60/40 rule, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Where 60 most of the businesses in the Philippines have to be owned
Right.
60% or majority by Filipinos, and only 40% can be owned by foreigners. So now, um, most of the business activities in the Philippines are now open to 100% foreign ownership. So this would include, public services, which would include telecommunications, ports,
Hmm.
seaports, airports. So these businesses used to be reserved for majority Filipino ownership, but now it's open to up to 100% foreign ownership. Even retail trade. So before, um, retail trade was reserved for Filipinos, but now 100% foreign ownership. can be had for retail trade, and the requirements have been lowered drastically. So before there were very high in entry requirements. I think up to 2.5 million US dollars are required capital before you could go into retail trade. But now it's down to, I think, just 100,000 dollars, or 5 million pesos. So our government has been modernizing and keeping up with the times, and now opening up more and more businesses to foreign direct investments up to 100% foreign ownership. And of course, these businesses, some of which can also avail of incentives. So now under the new CREATE law, maybe you've heard of the CREATE law, which is a tax reform law that was passed by the previous administration. So now all investment promotion agencies are giving the same kind of incentives. And so just to give you an example, depending on the business activity, this businesses, even foreign-owned businesses, can avail of like income tax holidays for 4 to 7 years. So meaning for the first 4 to 7 years of the business, they don't have to pay any taxes.
Wow.
No corporate taxes. And then
Yeah.
after the income tax holiday, they could enjoy a special income tax of just 5%. And then other, and they call it enhanced deduction. So a lot of incentives. So this special income tax, if you compare it with the regular one, which is I think now 25%, it's a big discount from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
usual. So all of these incentives are geared towards encouraging more foreign investments into the Philippines, so that we would have a better economy, more jobs for the people, livelihood for the people, and we could grow as an economy and a society.
That is
Wow.
really
Very
great
good.
news. Great news
Yeah.
indeed. Great news
So
indeed.
let me ask you a question then. Is it only limited to the different to the trade zone areas, the free trade zone areas, or is it open to any place in the Philippines?
Well, it would again depend on the business activity. So usually, if it's for example, if it's for export manufacturing, well, then that business activity is usually constrained towards locating inside an economic zone. So, but if it's like for domestic market, as long as it's qualified, they could get incentives anywhere in the Philippines. Before even the Philippine Economic Zone Authority, if
Mm-hmm.
you have heard of the PEZA, they
Yes, I am.
could certify areas as economic zones. So even like a standing building could be certified like for they call it an IT economic zone. So, but there have been changes to this, but the general direction of the government is towards opening up um, the business activities to more foreign investments. And the second point is that depending on the business activity, you need not locate specifically inside an economic zone.
Oh, nice,
Okay.
nice. So then those businesses in the U.S. would like to do business in the Philippines. Let's say, manufacturing of electronic chips or what have you, and stuff like that. Perhaps they can do a branch. They can branch out somewhere in Clark, or and therefore there will be incentives. There will be incentivized, I should say, um, putting up such type of
Taxes.
business. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
No.
yes, that's correct. That's
Mm-hmm.
precisely right.
Nice.
And another, I think, point that I would want to mention is that the goal is to push development outwards. So,
Okay.
as a rule, um, the farther the investment is for Metro Manila or for maybe other metropolitan areas,
Mm-hmm.
then the longer income tax holiday periods, more incentives are given
Hmm.
towards projects or investments that are
Farther
um,
away
farther away from Metro
Like
Manila
from
you
the
have in
or the
radius,
Metro
from the
Manila,
metropolitan.
radius.
right, right,
Yes,
right, in the
Yeah.
because
suburban.
yes, we're trying to push development away from the metropolitan area so that
Right.
we lessen the problems brought about by congestion, by
Mm-hmm.
people having to migrate towards Metro Manila or Cebu or Davao or any
Yes.
of the
Yes.
metropolitan areas. So
Right.
Yeah.
they can stay where they are, and as you mentioned earlier, stay and live where they are
Hmm.
and
Correct.
work
Well, the
where
good
they
thing
are.
about now is that there's a lot of online business that are being created here. The BPO, the call centers are really very lucrative business. And now the VAs, the virtual assistants, you know,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of, it's amazing because the
Mm-hmm.
virtual assistants that we have here in the Philippines are really, really very knowledgeable, because of the kind of education that we have, and we are English speaking. We use textbooks of American textbooks. We can easily grasp whatever they teach or train us so that we can be effective virtual assistants doing all kinds of administrative work and even marketing work, for the professionals in the United States. So, okay, well, wrapping up, we have another 3 minutes here. I would like to mention again that we do this a couple of 2 times a month with eForium, with Eric Ferdinand. Eric Soriano. No, I'm sorry. with Ferdy Soriano. Sorry, I'm getting jumbled here between Philippines and US. So
Senior
yeah,
moment, that's what we call
It's
it.
okay, Eric. Yeah, but
Eric, put me
I
straight
did
here.
want to say I did want to say one thing just to sort of maybe my last comment, because there's a lot of things that Eric said that a
Mm,
regular person who loves the country, who's
mm,
lived here but wants to give back. I think that one of the things that you can continue to do, SP, and everybody in this is just to continually break it down how to do that, how to invest, just like what you
yeah.
were saying about reverse mortgages, right? Because I think what
Correct.
drives the success currently, because I think I read somewhere that the Philippines is actually in the top five of some sort, where the growth in the ASEAN countries
Yes.
are they're leading the
Right.
pack, so to speak, or at least in the top five, right? So I think it's a lot of that is because of its youth, right? A lot of the embracing of technology and this entrepreneurial spirit, because entrepreneurship, it also drives the economy. The more entrepreneurs you create, obviously that's the most obvious thing is taxes, right? So
Of
Mhm.
I
course.
think yeah, I have to sort of add that in or bring that into the fold, because there is a lot of promise in future. So anybody in the U.S. or anybody here who's thinking about it, I think that agriculture is abundant. All it really needs is a lot more investment, and the belief that the Philippines has so much potential at every level. And it's like a diamond in the rough, and everybody just has to sort of keep polishing it and polishing it and polishing it, and all of a sudden we're probably going to be in the top five or top three in the ASEAN country.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes. Imagine if our baby boomers, those who worked from 70s to 80s, their prime time, you know these are the baby boomers, and imagine if they start contributing, going back to the Philippines, bringing in the resources, bringing in their skills, and engaging with the young professionals here. Our population is like the prime, between 25 to 35 years old. That's our population, and this is a very good strong population that can be your arm and your muscle to be able to put together what your dream is. My passion is to be able to encourage people to retire in style, retire in dignity, and using their asset, whether it's a small asset or a big asset, or even their resources or time, that is still an asset. And if you can bring that and leverage that so that you can prepare yourself and live nicely, whether here in the Philippines or in California, it takes a village to make a difference. That's what I could say. So, wrapping up, I know we're out of time, and I appreciate Anne for sharing her talent and her resources. Reach out to her for successful planning and business plans. Also to Commissioner Eric Elnar from Los Angeles Consulate. So, if you need to get hold of them, reach out to me because I can be the next of kin who is going to be able to tap their back and say, hey, somebody needs help. Let's help them. Okay.
That's right.
Thank you so much. And
Thank
yeah,
you. Thank you for having us.
yes, thank you. And looking forward to the next episode that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a great
Thank you.
night. And
It's a beautiful day. No worries today. Cool breeze outside my window. This is the life.